Message from John Ward, my friend, saying wrong spouse was murdered. I just don't know what it is, but this is one of those things where it just shows me. Doesn't matter. It comes up to the side of the screen and just comes in and says, guess what? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. In case we thought things could bottom out, that we thought maybe, this would be the beginning of righting the ship. This is a wonderful Yahoo article. Trump claims minorities thrive during his presidency. Advocates disagree. Wait, what disagree?
Advocates?
Oh, okay. Last week, while announcing his presidential candidacy, so the fact is that minorities thrived during the Trump administration.
Right, just like everybody thrived during the Trump
Exactly.
administration because it was a good administration.
Well, sure, whatever it is, luck, Obama's surplus, whatever you want to call it, things were a lot better for everybody. But the left has to begin building their narrative. And so here we go. Last week, while announcing his presidential candidacy, Donald Trump said minorities thrived during his time in office. 2 years ago, when I left the office, the United States stood ready for its golden age. Our nation was at the pinnacle of power, prosperity, and prestige, towering above all rivals, vanquishing all enemies, and striding into the future, confident and so strong, Trump said at his Mar-a-Lago estate. In four short years, everybody was doing great. Men, women, African Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody was thriving like never before, he added. But advocates and experts say otherwise. Stop AAPI Hate, an organization that was created in 2020 after a rise in anti-Asian hate, believes that people of color were put in harm's way during the Trump administration. During the pandemic in 2020, Trump's systemic use of anti-Asian and Pacific Islander rhetoric. Pacific Islander rhetoric? What was that?
It's because it's one of these things where it's all in the acronym, like BIPOC.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Because it's AANHPI.
Oh, so they got to keep on branding. Okay.
He didn't say anything about Pacific Islanders, but
Right.
it's part of the general thing of the AAPI hate.
During the pandemic in 2020, systemic use of anti-Asian Pacific Islander rhetoric really drove a sharp rise in hate incidents. There is no proof of that whatsoever.
Of course not.
There is
Of
no
course
proof
not.
of that whatsoever.
Because that didn't happen.
Right.
Because mostly the people doing the anti-Asian hate were like homeless, mentally ill people, often people of color of other persuasions.
And this is about the China virus, right? This
Right.
is CNN and all the other organizations. We played the cuts.
Trump said China virus, so a homeless black man pushed an Asian person in front of a train. That's what happened.
Right. So rhetoric really drove a sharp rise of hate incidents, unjust racial profiling, and overall deeper divisions across our nation.
Meanwhile, Harvard's like at the Supreme Court trying to continue discriminating against Asian Americans.
No, this is a balanced article. The next group they interview is the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at Cal State San Bernardino find that anti-Asian
They sound
hate
like
crimes
experts.
increased in 16 of the largest U.S. cities by 145% in 2020 during Trump's time in office. Asian Americans are very angry at what China has done to our country and the world. Chinese Americans are the most angry of all. I don't blame them, Trump tweeted. That seems like
pro-Asian American.
Yes, it does.
Actually.
In 2020, Trump posted, by the way, in 2020, 2018, 2017, 2016, do you think good progressives were more tempted to report a hate crime? Somebody called me something mean, or less attracted to it?
Probably more. That's why there were so many hoaxes, like right after Trump won the election, too. So many people got debunked.
In 2020, Trump posted at least 24 tweets that used negative rhetoric against Asian Americans, and the tweets were shared over 1 million times. It's funny. I would love to get an example of a rhetoric tweet that were negative against Asian Americans that Trump did.
I mean, I think that his stuff about Mitch McConnell's wife was...
That's not what we're talking about. This is 2020 that we're talking about, okay? And also, the Mitch McConnell wife thing was stupid. It doesn't make any sense.
And the Glenn Youngkin thing?
Also stupid. Doesn't make any
well,
sense.
Doesn't mean that...
It's not a call to action. I feel like we're still paying for the cost of Trump's extreme presidency and his extreme rhetoric of the humanizing of communities of color, says activist Sung Young Chamorro, the executive director at National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum. All these, by the way, groups seem...
That flows off the tongue,
They also
by
seem
the
like
way.
just a great bunch of fun people. Really, the progressives are going to say that the mean Republican conservative president was mean? Huh. However, Kulkarni said it's not just Trump's rhetoric that harmed minorities, but also the policies implemented during his administration. The immigration ban that suspended visas from China...
Wait, the one that afterwards seemed like it was probably a pretty good idea?
Well, is this the one that policies targeting the use of WeChat and even the ban on federal racial sensitivity training? First of all, the ban on the suspended visas from China, was this a pandemic measure?
Yes. They're referring
This
to
is
the pandemic measure.
The guy who we're about to laud here, in a moment, Anthony Fauci, probably would have been for that.
Right. And of course, liberals, their big claim to fame in 2020 was saying that Trump didn't react strongly enough to the pandemic.
Remember the famous 2020 policies regarding the use of WeChat? My goodness, if there's one thing, that's the only thing that stands out for me that year. It's that.
I do remember.
And then pandemic, and then George Floyd riots.
I do think it's interesting that they didn't mention, at least so far, when he was going to potentially ban TikTok, because the Biden administration is thinking about doing that, because national security people are actually seriously worried about TikTok.
Yeah, but Trump did it for the wrong reasons, because he wanted to stoke hate.
Because he just didn't like Asian people.
Nearly 2 years after the end of Trump's term in office, Asian American communities say they are still dealing with the impact of his decisions.
This reminds me of the stuff like with the mascots and the Native Americans, where like when they poll actual Native Americans, you know, just living life on reservations as Native Americans, they're like, we don't care. That's not offensive. But then they can find 50 million activist groups that grift off this stuff that are like, this is so harmful.
Yes. Many of our community members are being targeted, whether it's violence in the streets or some sort of discrimination, but we're still facing that. So that's like a very in-our-face, still present threat to our safety, she said. I think the nightmare's over, right? The furor was cast out. It's like, I don't see how this is still happening. In the 2020 presidential election, black Americans largely voted with Joe Biden, over 90% voting against Trump. 4 in 10 Biden votes came from black, Hispanic, This is fantastic.
Let me guess, Trump made gains with Asian voters?
Well, no, there's a very man-in-the-street person here who's got a great quote who encapsulates it all. We know who's good for us. We know what's best for us. We feel like Trump did not represent our values and did not help our communities. Svante Myrick, president of People for the American Way, a progressive advocacy organization, told Yahoo News. Here's paragraph 53. Some minority voters have expressed support for Trump.
Oh. Some minority voters have expressed support for Trump.
Mateo Morzacco, a graduate student in Texas, told BBC News that in 2020 that Trump's policies and ideals protect the United States. He has a strong nationalist stance, and they try to portray that as racist, he said. Protecting our borders and building up your economy is something most Americans want. I don't see how that's racist or some kind of dog whistle. Oh. Others have argued that Trump made key strides in the right direction for minorities. How come that all this stuff wasn't the lead?
That's not the story that they wanted to tell,
no,
obviously.
No, that's right. Others have argued that Trump made key strides in the right direction for minorities in criminal justice reform. In 2018, the Trump administration commuted Alice Johnson's sentence and signed into law the First Step Act, which increased prisoner rehabilitation efforts and gave judges more leeway with the sentencing of drug offenders. Once again, headline: Trump claims minorities thrive during his presidency. Advocates disagree. What about the legislation? The legislation is not an advocate or a dissenter or somebody, a critic,
Yeah,
right?
it just either is or isn't. I mean, there's also the fact of the economy, which helps everybody. And Trump loved to tout the unemployment numbers for Black Americans and Hispanic Americans and stuff, which were great as they were for everybody. The whole thing about Trump was that he wanted everybody to love him and be the best president ever, for Black people, for Asian people, whatever. And so obviously he's not going to do anything on purpose to jeopardize that. He just doesn't.
But advocates say the First Step Act had overwhelming support before Trump got involved. He's trying to take credit for something that would have happened with or without him, which is, frankly, typical Trump. Myrick said.
That's not true at all.
Yeah.
He's the one who arm twisted Republicans into going with it because that was a Democrat priority. And imagine how much more the Democrats could have got done if they'd gone with that strategy of dealing with Trump. Of like trying to get him to get their stuff done. Because they absolutely would be able to. But, because Trump just wants to get things done and be popular and be liked. Like he enjoys that stuff. He wants people to love him.
Ethnic minorities did not thrive. In fact, Trump was able to nominate no Black individual to any federal appellate court in the country. Carl Tobias, law professor at the University of Richmond, told Yahoo News. We've already seen those effects: abortion, healthcare, voting rights, all those areas where he did things that helped himself and the party. Can you imagine this? Ethnic minorities did not thrive. In fact, Trump was able to nominate no Black individuals to any appellate federal court in the country, a law professor said.
And it's well known.
So it's understanding. So that's the barometer of Blacks thriving, not people in communities actually making more money and being gainfully employed so they have a chance at the American dream. No. It's this guy's elite club leaderboard where he's finding like who, what color of how many are where, this and that. How elitist are these freaking people?
Yeah, of course. Under Trump, when Black people can economically thrive more and they can, go to better schools and have their kids grow up to go to better law schools and become judges, that doesn't count for anything because that's too wishy-washy and people getting to do their own thing, and it's hard to track that. No, it's all fake scorecards, like you're saying, like, a historic first, the first Black lesbian immigrant press secretary, and the first Black this and that, the Black woman on the Supreme Court, and it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous because that's a tiny percentage of people. I mean, I know there's a lot of federal appellate court judges, but there's, that's a tiny percentage of the population. That doesn't impact that many Black people's lives. And then for them to tie it back to abortion, like, which is the worst policy for Black lives, if you care about Black lives, like, as though the fact that Trump put on people of a certain skin color and that's why Roe v. Wade was overturned is just so absurd. Clarence Thomas was one of the people who overturned Roe v. Wade and, in fact, wrote the strongest opinion on it.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with skin color, the fact that Roe v. Wade is overturned. But that's to the left. Everything is one thing, right? It all is tied together. It's all climate change and COVID and anti-racism and abortion and all the things and trans people. It's all like rolled into one big thing. Do you remember when David Hogg tweeted about how like gun control, it was all about, that gun control was like first done by like trans Native American activists or something completely insane, because like to them it's all like one big cause. It's not like separate ideas that you can think about, but whatever. I mean, they're insane. Trump makes them insane. So good news for Trump, by the way.
What?
Did you see the Emerson poll that I sent you?
No.
So there was just an Emerson primary poll. So this was conducted 11, 18, and 19. And this is for the 2024 National Republican primary. Trump 55, DeSantis 25, Pence 8, Cheney 4, Cruz 3, Haley 3, Hogan 1.
Ugh. But I mean, where I would have to know more details.
How so?
Like on where those are.
Well, that's a national poll, so it's anywhere in the country. But yeah, no, of course, what the primary states are is going to have a big impact. And we've seen polling that goes both ways. But yeah, I mean, it's possible he's bounced back a bit since the election. I definitely think the perception that that conservative media is like coalescing around Ron DeSantis and trying to hold out Trump is, I think that helps Trump. Actually, I think regular voters don't like the sense that he's being iced out from the nomination, and I think that's part of what happened last time, and I do think that that's happening a bit again. I think also that it's really far away, and we're just gonna have to see what happens.
Okay.
Why? What's up? What are we laughing about now?
Dave says, did you visit Pedro at south of the border? I'm not sure. Morgan says Tom looks like Tim Dillon with that shirt on, which I'll take. Which I'll take. I like Tim Dillon. I do get his podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
You're frozen again.
Pre-show chaos. Yeah, it's blinking now. Tommy, New Hampshire says, God, they have an endless list of word salad to link everything horrible to Trump. How do they get so good at this?
Yeah.
Because, well, they're in an echo chamber, so they just reinforce each other. And they create, like this story, which really vindicates Trump on the merits, but includes the editorial comment of some other people. This will be picked up as a thing, and will be reported as a thing and advanced as a thing. My buddy who's friends with Bernie and Black voted Republican this cycle. We have had heated arguments in the past, so it was shocking to me. Let's see. Progress, I'll take it. Morgan says black folks don't like the trans stuff at all. I think that's fairly accurate. I think. But,
I mean,
I'm not sure where.
It's a bit of a shift too. I mean, I don't know. The more that's why they try and link all this stuff together. That it's all one thing.
By the way, there's a New York Post piece that's got mask mandates should be reinstated to help long COVID. HHS report says, and look at the person photographed there.
Oh, it's Rachel Levine.
Yes, this is the person telling us on behalf of science what should happen. This person is living an unscientific lie as a lie.
Of course,
which shows you this person is either dealing with a perception reality problem or is simply an activist. Not that that's exactly breaking news, but it's good to see it. Oh, okay. One more thing that's got me pissed off, and then we'll go to you, okay?
Okay.
It's not even that it's got me pissed off. It's just that, fine. I mean, this president we have right now is the most divisive president this country has ever had, including Woodrow Wilson, who put people in jail, including Abraham Lincoln, who was at the origins of the Civil War, where we fought each other. This president we have is the most toxic, divisive, cynical, immoral thing that's ever been in that White House. And here's an example.
We're not going to back down, though, in our fight to give families breathing room. That's why the Department of Justice is asking the Supreme Court of the United States to rule on the case. But it isn't fair to ask tens of millions of borrowers eligible for relief to resume their student debt payments while the courts consider the lawsuit. For that reason, the Secretary of Education is extending the pause on student loan payments while we seek relief from the courts, but no later than June 30, 2023.
June?
So we're going to be into 3 years now, where the most privileged in the country have not had to pay their bills, who have said loud and proud that they intend to use any savings on college for travel and fine dining.
Yeah.
They have said this. Now, I know that you and I have to pay our bills, and I've noticed that when we don't, a lot of times I have to sign something from the post office because people at Morgenstern in Tupman want to have a word with me.
Right.
It's funny that their debts, which are debts of luxury, are considered so much more prudent to shift the burden over from. It is the most divisive thing I could ever imagine. I mean, the Republicans suck as a party, so we can't impeach them. We can F around, and we can look at Hunter Biden. Here's the thing about Hunter Biden. It appears almost certain that he was a heavy drug user who used prostitutes, who broke the law, who broke gun laws, who broke drug laws, who brokered deals that included Joe Biden, where he kicked money up to Joe and his brother, and this was a matter of course. The kid got overpaid big time, etc. He's a total dirtbag, etc.
Right.
The Republicans didn't win the Senate, so it doesn't effing matter. And we're not going to get the luxury like the Democrats are now, with this they've got somebody new looking at Trump, independent prosecutor, independent special counsel, whatever.
Yeah, he's the new crush of all the Blue Wave fangirls on Twitter.
Yeah, and this guy worked at The Hague, so good. This tells us good. It's a good war crimesy. He did Milosevic, no offense, Alice, and now he's doing Trump. And it's total and utter BS. Meanwhile, they've got some appellate court has ruled that Trump's taxes can be shown, this is all a campaign to destroy Trump, and any campaign, anything that the Republicans do with Hunter Biden and dragging people up there in front of Congress, which I think is acceptable, considering you think there seems to be evidence that the old man was getting kickbacks indirectly through a middleman who was careless enough to leave his laptop around with the links around to the vice president. You think it's an appropriate investigation, but at this point, it's all for naught. It's all for nothing. The Democrats are just going to use it to say that it's an attempt to hide Trump's dalliances, and they're not going to ever push. They're never going to push, even though CBS has now confirmed 3 years later that that was indeed Hunter Biden's laptop. Mm-hmm. They're not going to turn. They work for Biden, so media is not going to jump on. So this is useless. And also, I don't trust Kevin McCarthy to not F this up. I don't trust him. And I don't trust him. If the country's going to fall on its face now, this is what's going to happen. So either we can have a distraction and feed ammo to the left to try to salvage the 24 elections, or we can simply say, here you go. It's all you. Here you go, and try to show them and see if there's any semblance of anybody in this country who's not stupid.
Well, in the chat, Tommy and Morgan don't think that it's all that bad because at least there will be gridlock in D.C., so they won't be able to get more huge, big, bad bills done.
If Kevin McCarthy can hold the line on every single person in the caucus, can he do that? I don't know. And
I don't know either, but and with the Republicans in the majority, even a slim majority, they'll be bigger on all the committees and everything, so they can bring people in for hearings and do stuff like that.
There have been a couple of good bright spots. McCarthy said that he's going to whack Swalwell off the Intel Committee, which is good. He's also going to whack Schiff off of a big committee too.
Yeah,
and I'm all for that. I'm all for it. And Schiff said it's going to lead to chaos.
Can we get Ilhan Omar off committee?
Yeah,
too?
he said that too.
Okay,
she's going to be off one of the committees too, and that's good. These people are all immoral dirtbag bottom feeders. Schiff himself is the devil incarnate, as far as I'm concerned, and what he did to lie, go into briefings where there were intel agencies were saying we can't find any Russian cooperation with Trump. And for him then to go into the media and say, we've found definitive evidence of cooperation between Trump and the Russians, that guy should be behind bars. If he was a Republican, he would be behind bars right now.
Probably.
So the NHL is now trans.
Yes, the NHL is trans. So this happened today. The NHL tweeted, basically they've sponsored this new league, basically. And how come I can't find the tweet now? But yeah, they said this was the NHL is proud to support this past weekend's Team Trans draft tournament in Middleton, Wisconsin. This was the first tournament comprised entirely of transgender and non-binary players with around 80 folks participating. Hashtag hockey is for everyone. Hashtag NHL pride.
See ya, hockey. Had a good shot.
Yeah, and of course, then somebody tweeted back because I think they were confused. So men playing on a women's team? And the NHL, this is the official NHL account, replied, trans women are women. Trans men are men. Non-binary identity is real. You ever notice they can only talk in bumper stickers?
I don't know.
Trans women are women.
Are these
trans women are women?
Are these people
trans
afraid
women are women.
of Trudeau? Is that what this is? I mean,
I don't know. I don't get it. Is it I don't understand how hockey, which I think is a sport that doesn't attract a lot of fans that are like that or players that are like that.
I think that's correct.
I mean, I don't understand how all the people, but this is what they do, though, I guess, is like progressives join organizations. They all jump into your organization. They take it over from the inside out, usually starting like in the HR department with a bunch of stupid trainings. And then they wear your organization like a skin suit and pretend to still be the NHL or to be, you know, the Boy Scouts or to be whatever organization they're pretending to still be, the Sierra Club or whatever it is. And then they just do their weird woke agenda instead of that. Like, what is the NHL doing? What's the end goal of having the trans NHL? I mean, I know this was just like a play tournament, but what's the end goal? I mean, like, are they thinking that if a woman were good enough at hockey, I assume she'd be in the NHL?
Yeah.
Women aren't banned from the NHL, are they?
No, I'm off it.
Are
Thankfully,
non-binary
to me,
people?
that's easy because my kids aren't going to play hockey. I'm not getting up and lifting up a big, huge duffel bag, and I'm not. It's fine. It's good.
But I'm just wondering, like, are non-binary people banned from the NHL currently? Like, if there was like a really good non-binary hockey player, or if like, you know,
what is
somebody
non-binary?
really good,
That's when
like
you just say
Zdeno
that you're
Chara
not normal?
decided he was non-binary and used they/them pronouns, would he still be allowed to play in the NHL?
They're on a breakaway. No one around them. They're isolated. They're alone. They're alone. The new NHL.
So, yeah. Morgan just said he wants to hear play-by-play guys use the proper pronouns. Hopefully they'll come up with something weird like AM air.
They're in the penalty box. So it's what do you call it so it's a
power play,
right? No. But you said they're in the penalty box. Yes. There's just one day. Zed is in the penalty box. Can somebody please translate this from upstairs? Anybody, please? Okay. So we get to a little bit of Fauci. Fauci had his curtain call today at the White House.
It's his last press conference. Sad day for America. His last press conference.
Let me tell you, KGP was not having it. Here's Fauci going after Trump.
There was some dubious advice coming out of the White House. There was some dubious advice, some questionable medical advice coming out of non-doctors at this podium. How do you think that affected the progress of this pandemic?
Well, you remember, if you were around, that at this podium I contradicted those, which set off a whole series of things in my life.
Oh my God, this guy is such a prick. God, he loves himself so much. By the way, the reporter in question was wearing a mask. This is today.
Is that April Ryan? Is that him?
No.
I mean, we have to continue, and we were just talking about this a little while ago. The way you counter misinformation and disinformation is that to do whatever you can as often as you can to provide correct.
So what is, if you get the vaccine, you will not get the virus or spread the virus? What kind of information is that? Because that was told to me as being factual information, and if you questioned it, Twitter would give you 18 little disclaimers saying, "Are you sure you want to question this?"
That was scientifically true information at that time.
Oh, I see.
Which then became not scientifically true. So it really depends when you say it.
Okay.
Information. The people who have correct information, who take science seriously, who don't have strange way out theories about things, but who base what they...
Every time a scientist tells you how important and scientific and noble they are, start backpedaling, because these people are sinister dirtbags.
Say on evidence and data need to speak up more, because the other side that just keeps putting out misinformation and disinformation seems to be tireless in that effort.
Incredible. Well, I mean, at least he's showing us that he's precisely the activist we always thought he was. So this Karine Jean-Pierre intended to have a pleasant and friendly send-off to him today, but unfortunately, a couple of the reporters started asking reporter questions.
Oh,
and
no,
so
can't have that.
she dove. Talk about a team sport. She dove like a FIFA goalie in front of those questions.
I will not call on you if you yell, and also you're taking time off the clock because Dr. Fauci has to leave in a couple of minutes. I'm done. I'm not getting into a back and forth with you.
Taking time off the clock. Mm-hmm. It's a press briefing. It's not a gala fete for Anthony Fauci. It's a press briefing. They're briefing the press.
We only have a certain amount of time with the great Dr. Fauci, and we need him to have nice questions. We want to hear about how Trump was mean to him, not about where the coronavirus pandemic came from and stupid things like that. Jeez.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Dr. Fauci,
but she's
only
asking
30
great questions.
So Fauci is backing off the podium while in the cacophony people are asking about the origins of the coronavirus, and he wants no part of that. So it is time for Karine Jean-Pierre to dive in front of the ball again.
You ask your question, you should allow her to answer the question.
Jeremy,
She's asking a valid
Jeremy,
question, Dr. Fauci, on the origin of COVID-19.
It is not your turn.
No,
It is not your turn.
You can't understand people. That's the thing. You can't read a press briefing. You need to call from people across the room. She has a valid question. She's asking about the origin of COVID-19.
I hear the question.
And Dr. Fauci is the best person to answer
I
that
hear
question.
your question, but we're not doing this the way you want it. This is a disrespectful. It is. I'm done. Simon, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you right now. Go ahead.
You wanted him. You got him, lefties. So that is where we are. Do you want more Fauci stuff for you?
Yeah, because he also weighed in on Thanksgiving. This is important because some of the people had questions about how we can stay safe this Thanksgiving, which I think is very important for them to know. The mask reporter asked him how we should stay safe this Thanksgiving.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. This is April Ryan. There's two mask reporters, apparently.
Okay.
On the issue of COVID and mask wearing. We're not talking about mask wearing in this moment. Masks and the word masks have become a pejorative in some parts of this nation. Can you talk about the importance of mask wearing as you're worried about the holidays and people gathering
shut
together?
the
And then
you
on the
moron.
gatherings for Thanksgiving and Christmas, what do you recommend for families who may have some who boosted and may have some who
This
are
is not a question that a journalist should have. This is not a question a journalist should
Fauci,
have.
please tell us. How can we have great Thanksgiving and Christmas?
No, she's not saying tell us. She's saying, will you tell the other people? Because she's wearing one in this room right now. She's got this tiny little brain that she's wearing one in this room full of people as if it's doing something. She's saying, can you tell the rest of the people in this room and the dummies in America, please, the MAGA people, how important this is and how good I'm doing for wearing one, please? And if you want to give me a personal shout out, that's okay, too.
not boosted, may have some who have not had a vaccine at all.
That is precisely how somebody who has never questioned a bit of guidance ever talks. Using his own language. Some who aren't boosted, 3 or 4 boosts. Can you please tell us? Please tell us.
I mean, I have to wonder, do
Well,
those people...
I think your first and second question are related because what it really
question is
tells you
allowed.
is that we have
Yes,
multiple
his time limit is not mentioned during this one.
interventions and multiple actions we can take to protect ourselves. So there's a whole spectrum. Masking is one of them. Now, we're not talking about requirements or mandating. We're talking about if you're in a situation and each individual person evaluates their own risk and that of the risk of their family members, for example, like a person who's 25-year-old living alone versus someone who has a elderly parent or grandparent or someone who's immune compromised. First of all, everybody should be vaccinated and boosted with flu and with COVID. Whether or not you wear a mask or another thing we shouldn't underestimate is testing. So when we're gathering at a family gathering for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or for any other holiday as we get into the winter, it makes sense that you might want to get a test that day before you come into a place in which you might be infected and spread it, or other people who might be there in order to protect. So masking is important, but you can count masking, vaccine, boosting, testing. All of that is part of the spectrum of protecting yourself and your family.
I don't have the bit. I can't find it unless you can find it. Our bit.
Oh, okay, I can go look. But yeah, I mean.
Oh, we should go to the chat anyway.
Oh, is it time to go to the chat
It
already?
Is.
Okay, wow.
We actually have so much stuff today to talk about.
Yeah.
That we're going to need more time because we've got to go to next door. We're in South Carolina right now. We bring kids over and then come back and we're seeing our friends and then this. Now we got 1,000 things to do. But then there you go. But we've got so much stuff for tomorrow as well. So hang in there.
Tomorrow, are we going to do a Thanksgiving Day show?
Of course.
Nice.
Tom, where do I do this? Where do I do this? There it is.
Chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let us see here.
Hi, Steve from Merrimack.
Hi,
Steve.
Steve.
Just trying to imagine the scene where you're having the ride from hell down to South Carolina, and you decide to calm the situation by forcing the children to listen to Bill Maher and Sam Harris do an interview. You got what you deserve, pal. That's all I can tell you. Ever heard of the Wiggles?
Tom doesn't like to have to listen to kids
Anyway,
stuff.
happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Steve. My dad used to listen to Bob Dylan every car trip.
Yeah. Well,
On
they have
cassette
stuff
tapes.
they could do. They have screens and stuff. The little bastards.
Hey, Burn Barrel crew.
Hey.
Hi.
What's this I hear that Tom's a member of the Proud Boys? Not just a member, the top Proud Boy, I heard.
The proudest
He
boy.
likes to get in scuffles, I heard. Also,
they do email you, I think.
Yeah, they did.
That DJ nickname was for Alice. It had to do with her mammogram. Dense jugs. Anyway,
I like it.
I thought it was funny.
Yeah, thank you. No, yeah, the Proud Boys of Connecticut have reached out to me, and sorry, fellas, I am on vacation this week. So, but you can listen in. I think Reese may be filling in, or Joe Markley is filling in. But you can pitch them on whatever. I'll see you when I get back. All right, guys, stand by and stand strong, or whatever it is.
Tom, our 4 children who are under the age of 12 don't seem to be responding to the Bill Maher Sam Harris interview. What are we going to do? Well, Alice, there's only one thing to do. Reruns of McNeil Lehrer from 1985. That'll calm the children down. Tom, what if that doesn't work? Alice, have you heard 2 words? Louis Rukeyser. I'm going to have them listen to Louis Rukeyser and then the best of Milton Friedman. Thanks.
Louis make the Lehrer report. Obviously, my dad used to make us watch that all the time. And Louis Rukeyser was a Wall Street report, Wall Street Review. He was a dead ringer for George Washington. Louis Rukeyser. It was not entertaining if you were a kid. Wall Street Week. It was Louis Rukeyser, dead ringer for George Washington. Yeah.
How is somebody a dead ringer for George Washington?
He was. Look up Louis Rukeyser. He was a dead ringer for George Washington. It was not fun. My dad used to make me and Jimmy watch from my grandmother's TV Vermont Report, which was a low-budget news wrap-up featuring people from the Burlington Free Press, etc. And my grandmother, the color TV.
Oh, interesting. I guess he kind of is.
Yeah. All the colors were, like, obscured, so everybody was purple.
Like a cross between him and
Hello,
Bill Clinton.
Tom, remember me? I'm old Mrs. Applebottom. You used to mow my grass. And then after you were done, I used to give you a fine little gift. I would take out my false teeth and give you a nice little gift.
What was that? What do you mean? I wouldn't even know what that means, although I did mow lawns for a bit, and we had this thing in junior high where you could go do small gigs. So I did around the town. I mowed this lady's lawn. It took me 2 days, and she was complaining like, "Where you were here yesterday? Are you coming back? Whatever." And I got like $2 an hour from her, $4. And I remember my dad picking me up and saying, "That sucks. That's terrible. That's not weird enough." I thought, you know what? You're right. I'm not doing that anymore.
Tom, none of our tricks are working. This is staying the ride from hell down to South Carolina. What are we going to do? Well, Alice, it's time for the nuclear option. Hand me the book on tape of Friedrich Hayek's The Road to Serfdom. The children will love it.
By the way, some of those old Milton Friedman videos
Milton
are fantastic.
Friedman's awesome, yeah.
And, the McLaughlin Group would be another one. Do you remember that?
But we've talked about that.
Oh,
before,
it's fantastic. Fantastic. You know, it's whatever it takes. It's whatever it takes.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been another fun day. Thanks to everybody who's been here in the live chat and to all our Patreon subscribers. It's so fun having you guys with us. You can join that at patreon.com/burnbarrel. You can also just find the show for free at burnbarrelpodcast.com.
If I get my $100 back from FanDuel,
well, you can use it now. People explain to us how to use it.
they said I have to go to New Hampshire. And
Yeah, you just have to cross the border and be physically there, and then you can.
Well, then I will bet on something, even though I don't know how to bet on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm using it. We're going to buy a camera here so people can behold me.
I don't either know how to bet on anything, although that's another thing we didn't get to is Ben Collins at NBC not understanding probability at all. At all. We have to do that tomorrow. So anyway, listen for free, burnbarrelpodcast.com. You can also leave chat messages there. Keep them coming. Thank you so much, everybody.
C'est la vie.